You found a place to belong here in the Circle of Friends. I'm Missy, and I'm with Beth today. And Beth, Dan came back.
Dan came back. You're a brave man.
It's good to be back. It went good enough the last time that I think I'll come back again.
Oh, it is so wonderful to have you here. It's been probably 6 or 8 months since you were first here.
Yeah.
And that was just a wonderful time. I was so thankful that you were willing to come back and join us again. Dan, I've said it before, and you probably blush a little, but you're a leader worth following. I truly believe that God has an anointing on you and that he is doing things far more than we can understand through this amazing man that he has grown, that we know as Dan Owolabi. And so, yes, listeners, that's why I want Dan at this table every time he's able and anytime he can and whenever he's willing, because he is a leader worth following, and not all leaders are worth following. We talked about that yesterday in that Matthew chapter of the house on the sand, the house on the rock. And Dan, this is what I know you know. You know that life comes at you hard and fast, and those well-built houses can be damaged by winds. You're aware. It probably puts a little fear in your heart when I say you're a leader worth following.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And it should, because all of us who are leading need to remember that it just takes a big old log in your path to trip you up and make you fall.
Right.
And you can come up with skinned knees or you can come up with broken bones. But the worst part of that is if there's people following you who are following you blindly, and they trip over that same log, they may not be as healthy as you to get back up and to keep walking. And so that mantle of leadership is a huge responsibility.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Which is probably why we don't like to wear that mantle. Why we say, "Oh, we're not leaders." Don't make me a leader. It's insecurity, isn't it?
It is.
And that's all a topic I'm sure you cover in your book.
It is. It is. One of the big things about insecurity is that it puts you in a position where you either feel like you have to run away from opportunities that God's given you, or you feel like you have to manufacture things that God hasn't really asked you to do. I mean, the Bible talks about all kinds of situations where people battle insecurity. I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to find a leader in the Bible, aside from Jesus, who didn't battle insecurity. And oftentimes, like Gideon's a great example. Oftentimes when we deal with insecurity, we'll put barriers in front of God, and we'll say, well, you can't. Well, really what we're saying is, I can't. And he's saying, I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to follow me. I'll be your security. I'll be your rock, and you'll be able to do it with my help. I mean, that's a big piece of being able to battle insecurity. The other side is, being the sort of person that maybe charges ahead too fast. And I found the most insecure people oftentimes are the biggest people in the room. They're loud and they're in front and they're just constantly just opinionated, but inside they're small. They're kids in suits, and they look big on the outside and they're small on the inside. And so the Bible talks again about lots of situations where people have run ahead and tried to do things on behalf of God because they believed in themselves. Samson, another example of a big man who was small on the inside. And so what happens with authenticity is that you don't shrink back from opportunities that God gives you, and you don't run ahead of God and try to be bigger than you are. You just are who you are, and you allow God to use you as you are, and you go back to that every day. And so even if you trip up, you already know your faults. You're already transparent appropriately with those, and so ultimately you don't fall too hard because you recognize, look, I'm not surprised by who I am. God loves me for who I am, and so I'm just going to lead through who I am every time I have an opportunity to lead.
And what a beautiful example to those who are following, especially in our homes. When our kids see us fall, but we get back up, we brush off, we turn around, we say, hey, wait, whoops, don't go this way.
Right.
Let's find another way around that. What a beautiful opportunity to lead in the midst.
I've seen my wife model that so much together in our household. Oftentimes there are moments of just, real tension. And maybe our kids are saying something and the music's on loud and something didn't go right. And so everybody's just real tense. And my wife has done a great job of saying, hey, I need a timeout. I need to stop. Dan, can you watch the kids for a second? I need to go get some food at Starbucks. I just need to get out of the house. And so I let the girls know, hey, look, mom's taking a break. But this is what happens, running full circle with authenticity. There are moments when my daughters get just gooed up and frustrated and angry, and they'll say, I need a timeout. I need a break. Because they recognize, look, this is the response. When I don't feel like I can handle the moment, it's okay to take a step back because mom did it, dad did it, I can do it too.
Yeah. Boy, that's true. I mean, I just see it in our own parenting, just our own life experience there. My husband and I went through a time where we had to sit down with our teenage children. It was very, very difficult to tell them how badly we had messed up and how wrong we were and how, those moments were probably one of the worst in my life. But out of that came some of the best. And I think by admitting where we were wrong and the ways that we were wrong and what we were wrong about and owning that and taking the responsibility for it, they were able, because they see it anyway. That's the whole thing, is people see it. So, but they were able to move forward. And I see how, they call us on the phone, they ask for advice, we're a very close family. So that did nothing more than cement the relationship. And even through that rough patch, as we got through that, the relationship was deeper and more authentic because they were willing to admit what what they're struggling with or what they have going on. And if I'm unwilling to be honest with you, how willing are you to be honest with me? It is a matter of trust.
Two words just jump out as you're talking, Missy. First of all, Dan, you model what to do in those rough patches. And Missy, you said through.
Yeah.
You can't get stuck. Too often we stop leading, or we say we don't, whatever. We take the other path, and we never get through. Taking that time out and going to get some food in your stomach, or just taking that break, that's a through moment. And once I'm through, I can circle around and come back, and then I can continue to address what needs to be addressed here. The sitting your kids down and saying, hey, this is a place we didn't see ourselves landing, but we're here. And looking back, we have to look back and see what brought us here. But going forward,
yes,
we have to move forward.
Yes.
I love that.
I do.
That's beautiful. I believe your wife is an excellent model in that.
She's good. She's good.
She's pretty awesome.
And one thing I admire about my wife a lot, and she does a lot of things right, but one thing I admire about her is she knows the difference between transparency and authenticity. There are moments when you feel something that you can't just be completely clear about and say, this is what I'm feeling, everybody.
Right.
Sometimes that's reckless. And I talk about that in the book, where there's moments that you have to realize your responsibility as a leader.
Right.
Some things that are going on in you are too heavy for other people to bear.
Right.
And so you
Yes.
shouldn't put it on them. But there are ways to figure out how to be authentic without being 100% transparent. And that's, I think, where people get tripped up. That it's hard to know what I should say, when I should say it, what's appropriate, what's not. I'm assuming, Missy, the conversation you had with your kids, you had to think through,
Yes.
how do we do this?
Yes.
Time and prep before
Right.
the conversation. You didn't
Right.
just blurt it out.
No, and you're right. And I love that you bring up these two words, because I think we very often kind of interchange them without thinking of the difference of them. We want people to be transparent. We want people to be authentic. And sometimes we think that's the same thing. And you're
It's
right, it's
not.
not.
It's
It's not. And I really get that, because even as I've spoken at a number of women's conferences, and my background, my personal background, is child sexual abuse, and so I've spoken on that topic. And again, what do you share? What do you not share? And it's a process of determining how much to share, what to share, and who to share it to.
Right.
Because you're right, there are things about that are too burdensome, and I settled it in my heart that I was going to honor my mother and father through that. How do I do that without, having people walk away from what I'm saying, oh, they were, I you know what I'm saying? I wanted to be honest, but honorable. It is. It's a matter of really considering your words, because they're very important.
Yeah.
You were Romans 12, 16, you were giving, or 17, giving thought to do what was honorable in the sight of all.
Yeah.
It doesn't say in Romans 12 that, people are just kind and good and whatever, bless them, bless them because be good, do good. It says bless those who curse you, right? Bless those who've hurt you. Bless those who have done you wrong. But as you continue to read through that passage on how to walk through that journey of forgiveness, it says, give thought to do what is honorable. Right. And that's authenticity versus sometimes transparency. I think of the transparent shower curtain. Not always helpful,
Exactly.
It's not helpful, yeah.
There are some things you can't unsee,
right.
and there are some things you can't unhear.
Yeah, very true.
So that's where that authentic leadership has to be done with regard to those who have led you, whether they've done it well or poorly, and who are following along behind.
That's right. One person that's really modeled authentic leadership in my life has been Dwight Mason. When I started pastoring at New Point, one of the things he said almost right away, he's like, hey, I'm going to make mistakes. Like off the bat, we're probably going to fight sometimes, and through the years that I was there, I learned so much. I learned about how to lead. I learned about how to grow a church. I learned about how to care for people and challenge people. But I learned more than anything how to apologize well.
Wow.
Multiple times he said, hey, we're doing something difficult. We're doing something that no other church that I know of is doing. And I'm going to make mistakes. And in fact, I just made one yesterday. Here's what I did. And I'm really sorry about that. I know it hurt you. I know I didn't want to do it, but it happened. And so those are the things that as I'm watching it, I'm realizing, okay, there's a path forward when it comes to leading authentically.
Yes.
There's a way to be, there's a way to be authentic, but also to be strong and confident at the same time. There's a way to lead people sort of step by step and yet not lose your soul in the process. And so those are the things that I think everybody needs to learn if they want to still be themselves, nothing to hide, nothing to prove, nothing to lose, but also take people somewhere and help people grow. That's key.
Oh, wow.
Love it. Yeah.
Dan, I went on your website, which I have done before, but this one was with a little more intentionality, knowing that I was going to get to sit at the table with you this week. And you had... Well, I'm certain this comes from your website, although I was also maybe reading, there was an article in a local paper, The Bargain Hunter, so yeah. I've been drawing from a couple places here, but you kind of gave an ABCD of the baby steps maybe to leadership, sure. And you said understanding yourself, leading yourself, understanding others, and leading others. It really does have to go in that order, doesn't it?
It does. That's so critical. I think if you get the order wrong, you really trip yourself up. So for me, what I've learned is that the best leaders are the ones that know themselves well. They know their foibles. They know the mistakes. Mm-hmm. They've done personality tests. They know that they tend to run late for things. They just know themselves well.
Quit talking about me. Okay, carry on.
But then they're able to let people know, like, hey, this is who I am. I'm working on this stuff, and this is stuff that just kind of is who I am. Yeah. And then they're able to lead themselves. They've gone through difficult challenges. They know they have the mettle inside to actually get through some difficult things. And so they're confident in who they are. They're confident in what they can do. They know they can deliver results. And then they turn around and then they're ready to lead other people. Mm-hmm. They take the time to understand others. They get to know their personality and what they need and what they don't need, how they can add value after they've kind of developed that community and that sense of service with people. That idea of servant leadership where they put people's needs first. And then now it's time to lead people. Now it's time to cast big vision, to get excited about where you want to go, to talk about the changes that need to be made, to use straight talk and tough talk and inspire people. All those things that we think about when we think about leadership, the big guy on top. That only happens after you've understood yourself and your own mistakes, learned to lead yourself, to demonstrate results, learn to understand other people and be a servant leader. And finally, you've earned the right to speak to people in a way that sounds like what we all think of as a leader. Mm-hmm. Someone who would just say, hey, this is what we need to do and this is where we need to go. That only happens after you've done the work behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. I think I've heard you say before that there has to be connection before there can be correction. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're at a place where we have to take a little break, but think about that as we take a listen to this. Connection before correction. And when we come back, Dan Owolabi from owolabileadership.com with the author. Oh, I have so much to say about this guy. The author of the book, Authentic Leadership. And let me tell you, folks, he is an authentic leader. You can find that book on Amazon. We're going to hear more from him when we come back. We're glad you've joined us at the table. You have found a place to belong.
Village Gift Barn in Berlin, Ohio carries one-of-a-kind finds, just as unique as you. Our elegant shop has everything you need to dress up your home and your wardrobe. We're dedicated to offering new, exciting merchandise. As you explore our 3 amazing floors, that's over 20,000 square feet, you'll discover everything from home decor and furnishings to a beautifully diverse women's boutique. Are your walls blank? Is your furniture blah? Do you never have anything to wear? We've got you covered. Stop by and let our friendly, knowledgeable team help you create a look that's all your own. Village Gift Barn is located in the heart of Amish country at 4755 State Route 39 in Berlin, Ohio.
When the sun beats down on the barren ground and turns the soil to stone, when the rain falls hard and the rivers flood and the banks won't hold, you are my shelter, you are my hideaway, you are my covering, you keep me safe. You are my harbor, you are my quiet place, you are my refuge and my strength. You are my shelter. When the wind blows strong and I can't hold on, you keep holding on to me. You are my shelter, you are my hideaway, you are my covering, you keep me safe. You are my harbor.
You found a place to belong here in this circle of friends. We're so glad you're back. And we are back, Missy and I, with Dan Owolabi. Dan is our, well, you're not our guest because you've been here before. And so you are just a part of our table here at the Circle of Friends. And we are so thankful that you're here with us, Dan. You're talking to us about leadership this week,
Right.
which is who you are and what you do. We want to get back to the book, but I do want to say to you, at what point in your life did you recognize, oh, people are following me?
That's a good question. Yeah, at what point? It was probably in high school.
Okay.
When I was a freshman, I had the opportunity to play on the varsity team, and that's a weird situation because then you're a young guy with all the older guys. So I didn't feel like a leader then. But when I became a junior, and the freshmen started coming up, I realized there was this extra sense of responsibility to kind of shape the way that they thought about basketball, the way they thought about our team. And so it wasn't just about me playing well, but it was about the way that I talked in the locker room, the way that I talked about other people when they weren't in the room, the way that I demonstrated teamwork. Like all those things became real and tangible because I could see myself when I had a poor attitude. I could turn around and see the guy behind me, the freshman and the sophomore. He also all of a sudden had a poor attitude. And I thought, wow, this is contagious. And I don't want people to catch the wrong thing.
You recognized that you had influence on the culture
Right.
of the team, but it's true of our homes and of our businesses, of our workplaces, of our churches, of our world. Our attitude makes a difference. That's pretty awesome. That's a great lesson to learn in your teenage years, that maybe there are people who are looking at me and what I'm saying, what I'm doing is helping them make decisions as to what to say and and how to do it. So maybe this is a book that needs to go into our high schools, right?
Well, Dalton High School, where I went, was a great place, and I learned a lot. But it's funny you say that about. You said something maybe a couple days ago about responsibility and leadership, and you said one reason why people don't want to become leaders is because they don't want the responsibility
Right.
for it. But the reality is we already have that responsibility. Charles Barkley famously said years ago, he's like, and he's a Hall of Fame player in the NBA. He said, "I'm not a role model. I don't want to be a
remember
role
that.
model. I've never been a role model." And I'm like, sorry, buddy. You don't have the choice.
Yeah.
When you say something and do something, people believe you. And so ultimately for us to say, and some people have this tendency to say that they're not a leader, that's not recognizing reality, that there are people behind you and around you who watch your example, whether it's your kids, your family, your mom, your dad, your whatever. People watch you and they follow your lead. So it's important to recognize that and then maximize that according to God's glory.
Beautifully stated. You should write a book or something. Again, Dan Owolabi, Owolabi, owolabileadership.com. This is a guy you want to listen to because he's been there. He's worked with a whole lot of leaders you used to be a school teacher.
I did, yeah.
You used to work with probably some future leaders in that setting, huh?
We've got some excellent leaders out there that I think when they came through my classroom, they had some sparks of leadership. It's been fun to watch them go out and make things happen.
Very cool. And today he's giving us kind of a crash course in first leading ourselves. We looked at your words. You have to understand yourself and lead yourself before you can understand others and lead others. And you have a great quote. You have to make connection before correction. And it's the old saying, people don't care what you know till they know that you care.
Right.
That's really what that connection is.
It is.
Just listening to others and hearing their story. But leadership doesn't allow us to stay where we're at, does it? Leadership's always trying to move us forward. So in that whole Leadership 101, as you are leading others, what's the next? How do you go from the vision here to the big picture there? How do you plant that fire in others that maybe don't have that same vision as you do?
Yeah, right. That's a great question. So I run into that same question when I'm working with moms and dads that are trying to lead their kids, and they're pulling their hair out. And a phrase that I've heard a lot is, "I just don't understand why they won't listen to me. I don't get why they won't listen to me." And a phrase like that, I've heard
Let's
that
stop. There's three of us at the table. We all listen to our parents, right?
from... Sure.
Continue.
Yeah, we all do that. You're exactly right.
Right.
And I've heard employees say the same thing. "Man, I've said this thing to this dude over and over and over again, and he hasn't listened. And I don't know what to do. And I don't know how to work with my partner. He won't listen." And things like that. Ultimately, when that comes up, my first instinct is to think you don't really understand that person yet. Because when you say the phrase, "I don't understand why they won't listen," you're actually being honest. You're saying, "I don't understand why they won't listen." I think, honestly, there are moments when we have to pause and say, okay, if I was this person, what would I be thinking? If I was dealing with their situation, what would be going through my mind? Let's assume that they're a rational person that makes rational decisions. What is it about me, about the way that I'm communicating, about their own circumstance that's making it difficult for them to make this shift? What button am I not pressing? What switch am I not flicking? Those are the things that leaders who are authentic leaders start thinking. And they're thinking, okay, how can I work through this? As opposed to just sort of blaming the character of the person and saying, well, they're just an idiot. And so therefore, or my kids are just bad kids. Or, and they don't blame themselves either. They don't say, I'm just a bad mom, I'm just a bad dad, I'm just a bad boss. They say, how can I figure this out? Like, what are the steps I can take to understand this person better? And then maybe push the right button and figure things out from there. That's what it means to really understand someone.
So it's the going to the person and saying, help me understand. Communication.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting as you're talking, and earlier I said when the steps to understanding yourself, leading yourself, understanding others, and leading others kind of remind me of an ABCD graph. There's a podcast, I believe, or something. Our daughter is a basketball coach, so she listens to a whole lot of leadership podcasts, and she sent one to us, and And my husband and I took a listen, and all I can remember of it is that it's the BCD podcast. And I don't know if that's what it is or not. But this author was saying, when we land in a place of blaming, complaining, or defensiveness, we are no longer able to take our part in the responsibility and move forward. And that's your ABCD steps. Plan A is always the understanding yourself, leading yourself, understanding others, and leading others. But when we go to the BCD, whether we're blaming ourselves, you said parents in leadership, it's not about blaming your kids or blaming yourself. Whether it's blaming yourself or complaining about the situation, there's no productivity in complaining or getting defensive, because when we get defensive, nothing's coming through us, right? It's you're the basketball player. Your job is to stop everything so that it doesn't get to where the goal is. None of that will help us. But when we can cast that aside and go to that person, or maybe say to ourselves first, I need to look back and figure out how I got to this place, then we can take those steps to leadership. Help me understand. So help me understand, Dan. Why do parents beat ourselves up so much? Because we do it.
Yeah.
And when we beat ourselves up, we impede the progress.
So good. That's a good word. Beth, you're saying everything that's 100% true. Your daughter sent you a great podcast. That's Tim Kite. And him and I spoke at a conference a few months ago, and it is just dynamite stuff. No BCD is the phrase he used, and he had the opportunity to work with Urban Meyer at Ohio State and help them lead the team to the national championship in college football. And, one of the things that he says, again, is no blaming, no complaining, no defending. I think, to your point, the reason why people will blame themselves and kick themselves is because they want perfection too quickly. They're aiming for perfection over progress. And they don't understand, why can't my son, act the way that I want him to? Why can't my daughter act the way that, I want her to? Why can't I act the way that I want myself to? And ultimately, as children of God, we realize that we can't be perfect. But God doesn't ask for perfect. He asks for progress. He asks for us to come to him every day and to try to be better today than we were yesterday. And so if that's our goal, progress, then we sort of loosen up a little bit. And we're like, okay, you know what? This is progress. Because I think oftentimes we overestimate what we can accomplish in a year, and we underestimate what we can accomplish with our kids, our family, our business in 5 years. We don't take the long view, and we want things perfect now, when in reality, sometimes things take time. So giving ourselves some grace over time is key.
Well, that was so beautifully put. God is looking for progress, not perfection. And maybe that's, earlier this week we referenced 1 John 1. Maybe that's the lesson we need to take away from 1 John 1, verses, I think, 8 and 9. If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves. Okay? So this goal of perfection, you're deceiving yourself if you think you're going to be a perfect parent or that you are a perfect parent. There is no such thing apart from God, who is the perfect parent. We're not perfect people. We deceive ourselves, and he gives us the rest of that answer in that verse too. But we come to him and we confess daily, Lord, this is my goal for my kids. This is my goal for this business. This is the goal in leadership. But I can't do it without you.
Right.
And he's the one that shows us how to get through this without the blaming, complaining, defensiveness, and with understanding others. He took the time to be in relationship with us. And that's really what your Authentic Leadership book is about, relationship.
Exactly right. God took the time to come down to earth to relate to us at our level, our stinkiness, our weirdness, all that stuff. And the fact that he did that should be an ultimate example for us to be able to look the people that we lead in the eye and say, I'm willing to get down on your level and get where you're coming from, if anything, so that you can see me as someone who's willing to help you.
Right. Wonderful. Well, Dan, again, Dan Owolabi is here at the table with us this week. We are so thankful to have you here. His book is Authentic Leadership, available on Amazon and at your local bookstores. Ask for it. If you can't find it on their shelves, or if you call them and say, hey, can I order this from you? They'll find it for you. But you can also find him online at owolabileadership.com, OWOLABI leadership.com. com. I think you can Google his name too. So you know what? You can find this guy. And he's worth listening to, guys. He'll be back tomorrow, and we hope you will be joining us at the table too. You found a place to belong here in the Circle of Friends. This program was brought to you through the generous support of donors and listeners like you. To contact Circle of Friends Ministries, you can write to P.O. Box 345, Berlin, Ohio, 44610, or find us on Facebook at circleoffriends.fm. Program archives can be found at thelight959.com.